When Dr. Aaron Hale finally arrived, his exhaustion was visible in the way he carried himself, shoulders slightly forward, eyes dulled by too many sleepless nights, and conversations that never ended cleanly. He held a folder thick with test results, timelines, and carefully labeled tabs, the kind doctors use when they know families are desperate for clarity, but certainty is in short supply. He paused before speaking, studying the monitors, the slow rise and fall of Mark's chest, the machines doing work his body could not manage on its own. Only then did he turn to Kelly, who had been sitting upright for hours, refusing the comfort of sleep because it felt too close to surrender. Questions without safe answers. Kelly lifted her eyes when he introduced himself, offering a polite smile that trembled at the edges. She thanked him for coming, her voice steady only through effort. When she asked how Mark was doing, the question carried everything she had been holding back for days. Dr. Hale answered carefully, explaining that Mark was stable, but that stability in situations like this was fragile and constantly shifting. There were signs they were watching, responses they hoped for, and limits medicine could not promise to cross. When Kelly asked whether Mark would wake up, the words came out thin and almost apologetic, as if she feared asking too much of reality itself. The space between hope and truth. Dr. Hale chose his words like stepping stones across water he knew was deep and cold. He explained that recovery could not be predicted, that the brain heals on its own timeline, and that medicine could support, but not command it. Kelly nodded, not because the answer comforted her, but because she understood the language of uncertainty better than she wanted to. She had lived long enough in public life to recognize rehearsed phrases, yet something in his posture told her there was more weight behind what he was not saying than what he was. When doctors carry regret. As the night stretched toward morning, their conversation deepened. Dr. Hale spoke not just as a physician, but as a man burdened by hindsight, explaining the decisions made under pressure, the moments where speed and caution collide. He described how medicine often demands choices without full information, and how doctors live with the echo of those choices long after charts are closed. He admitted, quietly, that some decisions felt heavier than others, not because they were wrong, but because outcomes refused to align with intention. The question that changed the room. When Kelly finally asked if there was anything else she should know, her voice was calm but deliberate. It wasn't a demand, it was an invitation to honesty. Dr. Hale hesitated, feeling the familiar conflict between professional restraint and human responsibility. He explained that there were aspects of Mark's early treatment that unfolded quickly and imperfectly, shaped by urgency rather than ideal conditions. Nothing dramatic, nothing hidden, just the reality that emergencies rarely follow clean scripts. Still, he carried regret for moments when clarity arrived too late to be useful. Acknowledging human limits. Kelly listened without interruption, her hands folded, her wedding ring pressed between her fingers like an anchor. What she heard wasn't scandal or betrayal, but something more unsettling in its ordinariness, that even the best systems rely on fallible people making rapid decisions in chaos. Dr. Hale admitted that he wished certain steps had been taken sooner, certain questions asked louder. But medicine does not allow rewinds. He shared this not to shift blame, but because he believed families deserved honesty, even when honesty offered no relief. The weight of loving someone publicly. As dawnlight crept through the narrow window, Kelly's thoughts turned not to headlines or speculation, but to her children, to the man in the bed who had always been her constant. She understood that public life amplifies private pain, turning quiet uncertainty into noise. What frightened her most wasn't what people might say, but how easily the complexity of human moments could be flattened into simple narratives that left no room for truth or dignity. Choosing transparency without drama. Kelly asked what came next, not with anger, but resolve. Dr. Hale explained the path forward: continued monitoring, careful reassessment, collaboration among specialists, and patience that would test every nerve they had. He assured her that everything going forward would be documented, communicated, and shared openly with her and her family. Not because protocol demanded it, but because trust mattered more than procedure in moments like these. The quiet strength of staying. When the conversation ended, Kelly remained where she was, watching Mark breathe, listening to the steady rhythm of machines that felt both cruel and miraculous. She did not cry then. Instead, she chose presence, believing that love expressed quietly could still reach someone suspended between worlds. Dr. Hale left the room carrying his own burden, knowing that some nights follow you home and refuse to loosen their grip. A morning without resolution. The sun rose fully by the time nurses returned, adjusting monitors and speaking in hushed tones that respected the gravity of the room. Nothing had changed, yet everything felt different. Kelly understood that this chapter would not offer neat conclusions or dramatic revelations. It would demand endurance, honesty, and the willingness to live inside uncertainty without being consumed by it. What remains unspoken but real. In moments like these, truth is rarely a single revelation. It is a series of acknowledgments that love does not guarantee safety, that systems are imperfect, that regret and care can exist in the same breath. Kelly stayed, not because she had answers, but because presence itself became an act of defiance against fear. Holding on without knowing how, as the day began, Kelly leaned forward and whispered Mark's name, not to wake him, but to remind herself that he was still there. Whatever came next would be faced not through secrecy or spectacle, but through patience, clarity, and the refusal to let uncertainty erase humanity. And in that quiet room, beneath fluorescent lights and the low hum of machines, love remained the only certainty left standing.